Afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday.
And here's what's happening. Local colleges and universities update their rules and requirements to keep students and staff protected against COVID on campus.
A massive workers' strike is now off the table. The city of Portland and trade unions have reached a final agreement over wages.
Bumps in the road to providing affordable housing. The issues with funding and locations city leaders face in both Portland and Vancouver.
Our top story this afternoon, though, Washington is a step closer to ending its mask mandate, but there are a few more steps before the state is on the same page as Oregon. Galen Etlin joins us in the studio with an update that was announced today. Galen.
A lot of people waiting for this, right, Ashley? Now, Governor Jay Inslee says Washington's outdoor mask mandate will end next week, but he's holding off to address the indoor mandate. And here's what we know so far.
Changes are coming to Washington's mask mandate.
The virus has changed. So now we are entering a transition period.
Governor Jay Inslee spoke Wednesday, saying the state's outdoor mask mandate will end Friday, February 18th, as COVID cases and hospitalizations go down.
Based on trends we're seeing in other countries and states that are further along in the Omicron wave, we fully expect declines to happen here as well.
But the question remains about the indoor masking policy. Inslee said it will end.
It is no longer a matter of if, it is a question of when.
But Inslee wants to wait one more week to assess data before announcing an official date.
And so the day is coming fairly soon when we do not have a broad mask mandate for indoor public spaces or for our schools. And we're going to do that by following the science to make the right decision.
Oregon already announced its indoor mask mandate for public places and schools will end no later than March 31st, citing similar projections of lower COVID cases and hospitalizations. Masks will still be required in medical settings, and businesses and school districts can still implement their own masking policies if they choose. And soon, Washington hopes to have a similar plan.
I think that would be helpful for Washingtonians to have a goal.
Now, we know all of this through this entire pandemic. It's been hard to keep track of all of the updates, so you can look up mask mandates on KGW.com to get the latest. Back to you.
All right, Galen, thank you so much. When Oregon drops the public indoor mask mandate in late March, school districts, businesses, and public universities will have to come up with their own masking policies. Christine Pitawanich checked in with Oregon's 3 largest universities to get an update on plans.
I checked in with Oregon State University, Portland State, and University of Oregon to get an update on any COVID-related changes. Let's start with OSU, which announced a number of changes this week.
The university is going to maintain, until further notice, our requirements for face coverings in indoor public settings.
But Steve Clark with OSU says that could change depending on public health conditions as we approach the end of March, when state health officials plan to lift the indoor mask mandate. Then there's a change to the policy for outdoor events, including sports. OSU will no longer require proof of vaccination or a recent negative test.
The reason we're doing that is we're finding that outdoor events are typically not as subject to transmission.
Boosters are still required for all employees, students, and visitors, but the deadline has been extended from March 15th to May 1st.
It's that access to booster shots are not as readily available as we believed they would be when we made this announcement.
The University of Oregon also extended its booster requirement deadline to March 18th. No word on a masking policy as of yet. At Portland State University, no decision has been made on the masking issue, but boosters are expected to become a requirement. First, the school needs to develop an enforcement plan. Both OSU and U of O have online portals to help track student and employee information. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
Oregon lawmakers in Salem are debating a new bill that would protect school superintendents from being fired without cause. The move comes after a series of high-profile firings in the state. The latest was the termination of Newburgh's superintendent back in November. His dismissal prompted public outcry, and then 2 failed recalls of school board members. Now, if this bill passes in the legislature, it would require school boards to provide 12 months notice if they're going to fire a superintendent with no cause. But they could still fire superintendents with cause. The bill also states that a district cannot direct a superintendent to ignore or violate state or federal laws. There's no word yet on when lawmakers might vote on this bill. Well, Portland union workers are clocking in after reaching a wage agreement with city officials today. They were set to strike tomorrow after negotiating with the city for more than a year. The agreement includes a 1.6% cost of living adjustment retroactive to last July and another 5% increase starting this July. Roughly 1,100 city workers that make up the union voted on the offer.
This afternoon, we're hearing from the sister of a man shot and killed by Salem police earlier this week. Richard Myers' sister says he struggled with mental illness and addiction for years, and she wonders if it played a role in the shooting. Mike Benner spoke to the family. So, Mike, what else are they saying today?
Well, quite frankly, they're wondering if there's any more they could have done to prevent this deadly shooting. That's been eating at them since they got the call their loved one was dead. You may recall the shooting happened just after 12:30 Monday morning. Authorities can't say a whole lot until a grand jury is convened, but we know that officers tried to stop Richard Myers, who was driving his 1995 gold Mercedes. Instead of pulling over, investigators say Myers sped off. He drove to Northgate Park, right into a gully, and then onto a field. That's when there was some sort of confrontation. 3 officers opened fire, killing Myers. Again, we're not sure of the exact circumstances surrounding the shooting. Rachel Coble, Myers' sister, is desperate for more information. She knows her brother struggled with mental illness and addiction, but she says he had so many good qualities. Coble says her brother loved to joke around and build model cars.
I just want people to understand that these are human beings, and it's not just another statistic. It is a person with a life and a story. And unfortunately, sometimes these stories don't have happy endings.
All right, we understand Myers' pit bull that he loved like a child was with him at the time of the shooting. The dog was injured and family made the tough call to put it down. As for the 3 officers who fired at Myers and the 4th who witnessed the shooting, they're all on paid leave, which is standard protocol. Ashley.
Mike, thank you. Portland leaders are trumpeting big gains in affordable housing, but we're also seeing that yet another hiccup in plans to open organized homeless villages. Yesterday, Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan announced the city has spent the remaining funds from a $258 million housing bond. That bond, approved by Portland voters in 2016, was supposed to open 1,300 affordable housing units. The commissioner said the city surpassed that goal, opening more than 1,800 units.
I can't imagine starting 2022 on a more hopeful note. Just look around. It's really clear we urgently need stable, affordable housing. And thanks to Portland voters, there are now more than 1,850 affordable homes open or in development throughout the city.
At the same time, Portland officials announced a shift in plans when it comes to opening 6 safe rest villages around the city. The city's chosen 3 of the 6 sites so far, and now officials say they need to use one of those sites for something else. Officials say they hope to start opening these villages sometime this year.
The need for bus drivers and truck drivers has made headlines this year, and new federal regulations were just put in place to standardize driver training that you must complete before you apply to take a commercial driver's licensing test. Chris McGinnis has the story.
It's not me I'm worried about. It's all the other traffic around me. That what are they doing? Have they had a bad day? Are they on their cell phone? Are they drunk?
Steve Calvo has spent nearly 3 decades in a big rig hauling gasoline over 3 million miles. While he stays alert for the other guy, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration just put new training requirements on first-time truck drivers.
Entry-level drivers have to go through a theory-based training or a knowledge portion type training, as well as a behind-the-wheel training.
Entry-level driver training, ELDT, is now a requirement for any first-timers looking to earn their CDL. Your commercial driver's license is needed to drive a truck or a bus. The requirement establishes a minimum uniform training standard across the U.S. Safety advocates have a mixed reaction.
We were really pushing for minimum standards like hours or time or maybe a graduated dry licensing or apprenticeships.
Practice hours are not monitored, but the safety record of drivers will be.
There will be a database, and if they're seeing problems or issues, out there on the road or something, that they'll be able to go back through and figure out what school did it.
Old schoolers like Trucker Steve see the new regulation as a burden.
It's adding another layer of bureaucracy and financial burden, not just on the driver, but on the company.
The FMCSA says the national average cost to earn a CDL at a school is about $3,700. There's no clear-cut answer to what this new standardized training will cost. Valid CDLs in Oregon, meanwhile, are at their lowest levels in at least a decade.
The upcoming group of people or of kids and younger folk coming in the trucking business is next to nothing.
Chris McGinnis, KGW News.